Alright, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another YouTube video. In this one, I've got the whiteboard and I've got some thoughts in my head, and we're going to talk about how to grow your social media marketing agency to that six-figure level in terms of income, typically after tax, which is about $140,000 a year, which equates to about 11 to 12 grand monthly, which sounds like a lot, but it's really not. And I don't know a lot of people that'll actually make this video after taxes. A lot of people are like, how to get to six figures, and they don't really include taxes. But I feel like that's really important. And also this applies not just to running your agency, but also if you have any sort of a consulting or like a coaching business, which is really ultimately what I teach. I teach consulting, coaching, or agency businesses how to grow them, basically. And some people who even have online information products have taken this and run with it as well. So really, basically, if you have any sort of an offer like that, I'm gonna show you how to get to six figures, but particularly in this video, I'm gonna do it for consultants or agency owners, right? So before we get into this, I want to say two things. So first of all, if you have any questions of any kind, or you just want to connect with somebody, you can message me on Instagram at Trey, and it's a great place to reach me. It's a great place to get some questions answered. I spend a good amount of time every day in the DM over there, getting to know people, seeing if I can help them, stuff like that. So if you have any questions, be sure to message me. And then after that as well, the other announcement is that you can schedule a one-to-one consult with myself for the six-figure marketing consultant program. So if you'd like to do that, there's some links around here somewhere. And it's a program where you can go to my channel, you can see that we've helped like many people start and grow their agencies. One with Keaton Walker, and there's an interview with him on the channel where you can see he made it to like $10,000 a month within like 4 months. Johnny Vo, who's at 30 grand a month within about 8 months. Bastion Slot, who's at about 40 grand a month within about 6 months. And I've got more interviews coming soon with students who have followed the program as well. So you can go check that out. I think it'd be really, really helpful for you if you're wanting to take it seriously and get started. So that being said, let's get into this. How to grow your agency to that six-figure level. So there's a couple key variables that you're gonna need. And I know this because obviously, I've spent a lot of time one-on-one on the phone with people who wanted to grow their agencies. So this isn't just me spewing crap. This is like honestly what I feel like you need, and I'm gonna keep it super simple. So the first concept, I just want to explain a concept before I explain what you need, okay? So the first concept you're going to need to understand is basically the concept of like delayed results. So you kind of got like a hockey stick growth up. You have on this axis, we have time, and on this axis, we have success, which I'll just write an S for. So with any businessman, not any businessman, like with any business, man, you're gonna spend a lot of time before you're gonna see results. And I'm the only guy that'll tell you this. I'm not gonna say that within the first week I'm gonna get you your first client. I think that's actually unreasonable. I think you need to know how to get them results and like be good at what you do before you try and sell something to somebody. But I wanna talk about how to eliminate both of those issues, right? So time and success. Those are the two variables. So it's gonna take you a while. So, and this is actually true for me too, because it took me about, I would say that this right here was about 1.5 years. And then right here, this has been like, whoops, how do I do that? Okay, this has been like maybe 9 months for me. And it took me a long time to get to, right here, I'd say this is about $8,000 a month, which is about six figures, right? And then literally within like a few months of that, I'm at like 40 grand a month, okay? And this is with my business as a whole. So, you gotta understand there's time involved, and time is your biggest like helper. And I know you're just wanting specifics. You're like, how do I pick a niche? How do I get into, and you're wanting me to do all that stuff. You're wanting me to get super specific, but I just need you to understand that. Because so many people set such a bad expectation for themselves when they're first getting into business, or even when they've grown it a little bit and they want to grow it more. Okay, so that's the first thing. You got to understand that. And I want you to understand this as well. And it's something called an effect delay. So like, let's say this, I'm gonna do a red one. I don't know if the red will draw. It does. Okay, cool. So let's say the red line is the amount of work you put in, okay? And let's say the blue line, let's actually use a green one. Is the green gonna draw? No, let's use a purple one. Okay, say the purple line is the result you get, okay? Purple, result. And then red is effort. Effort. So what's interesting is this is basically called an effect delay. Effect delay. This is something you're gonna wanna remember. That's a really crappy why, effect delay. Because what happens is when you're first starting your business, you put in a bunch of work and it takes a while for you to see any results. And then this sort of result horizon starts coming around. You're like, oh crap, like I'm actually beginning to see results. What's interesting is, with most businesses, like the year you start, like doesn't actually affect the year that you start. It affects like 3 years down the line. So you gotta understand that. Because like if you watch an interview with like Jeff Bezos, for example, he talks about how, it was one of his best quarters. It was like back in 2015. He doesn't say, yeah, well, we did a lot of good work this quarter. We really made it happen. He doesn't say that. What he says is, no, like this quarter was made like 6 years ago. So we're just going to keep doing what we've been doing. And like, that's an effect delay. Like this is 6 years ago. This is the quarter of 2014. They're putting in work here, and the effect of that work, the amount of work they put into whatever they did, like building infrastructure for their warehousing or something, went away. They stopped working on it. It's built. And then the result comes in and it gets them success, right? So you got to understand that as well. Super, super important, okay? There's not a direct correlation between how much work you put in today and how much you succeed today. You've really got to understand that. It's a super important concept because most people want short-term successes. They want to win right now. And you've got such a bad mindset if that's what you're here to do. I'll just say it as it is, okay? So now that we've got those two things out of the way, understanding the variable of time and then understanding effect delays. Now let's get into what you actually need to do to grow an agency. So I'm just gonna say like six-fig agency. And I'm gonna start really drawing this out on a very visual level, okay? I don't even know if you can read that. Can you even read that? Barely. Enough that you can see it, I feel like. 6-figure agency. So the first thing you're gonna need, I'm gonna use blue, maybe blue shows up better. The first thing you're gonna need a niche. Okay? Niche. So how do you pick a niche? Well, in the course, I talk about this thing, in the 6-figure marketing consultant course, I talk about this thing called the golden mean, or I forget what I call it actually. But it's basically, you have 3 variables. You have your understanding of the niche. You have the ability for your agency to scale in that niche. So 1, 2, your ability for the agency to scale. And then you have basically how willing the niche is to buy from you, right? How much money they actually have. And those are the 3 variables you gotta consider. Personal understanding, how scalable it is, and if they're willing to buy. So I'll write those down. 1, understand. 2, scale. 3, buy. Okay? So when you have these 3 things aligned, you can pretty much work with any niche that has these 3 things. So as long as these 3 things are in place, you can work with them, right? And I'll draw a little red in here because this little triangle right here is what we're trying to aim after. Right? Does that make sense? If that makes sense, then we're good. That's how you pick a niche. It's really simple. So what's interesting about the personal understanding element, you can actually expand on this by doing your own research. You can get on Google. You can read some books. You can get some meetings with people who you know in the industry and ask questions. You can do free work, which I really discourage, but if it's the only way for you to get your foot in the industry and learn what they operate like, then it's worth doing, okay? I seriously discourage it, but it's an option. You can get on YouTube, find people who are in the industry who talk about it. You can get in Facebook groups. These are just some ways that you can do your own research, right? So when it comes to scale, what I'm primarily talking about is what's the number of clients you can have on at any given time without things breaking, right? How attentive does each client need you to be, right? Are there contractors out there that you can hire that will fulfill the work, right? So that you don't even really actually have to do the work yourself. So those are really two of the main things when it comes to scaling. When it comes to buy, do they have a good amount of cash flow? Whoops, I don't know why I wrote a 9 there. I was trying to write a question mark. Do they have a good amount of cash flow? And are they ready to invest in the growth of their business, right? So those are the 3 things that it comes to when it comes to picking your niche. Literally, that is the end of the conversation. You don't have to do anything more. Just consider those 3 things and then find a niche that you feel like fits that. And you're good to go. So that knocks that off the list. You're probably gonna have some questions, and again, that's why I encourage you to go to Instagram. So I'm gonna wipe all this down here. So that's niche. It's really that simple, okay? And you can tell that I've done this for years and helped a lot of people start because it's just really simple. You just gotta keep it super simple. So next thing, so we have niche. So now we're gonna talk about service. Not SERVICE. Service. So what do we actually do for them? So how do you pick what to do for your niche? So you now know what the niche is. Let's say it is, let's say it's fashion brands, right? For example, it could literally be anything, okay? And I hope preferably it's something that you generally care about or could see yourself working with for a while, right? That's one of the things that I talk about in the course too, is would you genuinely be happy if you saw your clients succeeding, even if you weren't getting paid? Something to consider, right? So your service. So how do we decide what we actually do for them? Well, this is when we get to market research and we get to seeing what they actually need, right? Now, in general, most people who teach agency models, they say learn Facebook ads and then deliver Facebook ads to any niche. Any niche needs Facebook ads, right? And that's just not true. Facebook ads work really well. Most niches need them. And I would agree with that. But the problem is most niches are going to be skeptical about Facebook ads. And you're going to have to sell them on it. And you're going to have previous results and these sorts of things. So just learning a service and then assuming that the service is what the niche needs isn't the way to go. Okay? So we're going to do something that I call market backwards. And this is actually what I teach, again, much more in depth in the 6-Figure Marketing Consultant program, right? And it's honestly it's the main thing that allowed Johnny Vo, for example, who's one of our top students, to get to $30,000 a month. Bastian Slott, $40,000 a month. Keaton Walker, $10,000, $20,000 a month, okay? Market backwards. So what is market backwards? So basically, instead of having a idea, and I'll just draw a little brain, and then we take that idea and we find a market for it. I'll just draw a little cash, right? And then we try and sell it to people, get them to buy it. And it starts with an idea, and then it goes to market, then it goes to buying it. Instead of doing that, we actually reverse all of this. So instead of going this way, actually go this way. So what we do is we just sort of talk to the market and ask them good questions. Say, hey, fashion brand owner, what do you need? And they're gonna be oh, I kind of need this. They'll say, this is kind of what I need. Be sick, okay, that's what you need. So let's take that, how much would you pay for that? They'll be oh, I'll probably pay this much for it. And then you say, all right, sick, so you pay that much for it, so maybe I should go find some contractors, maybe I should go build a service for that, and then I'm gonna give it to you. And then I'll make some money. So this is kind of a crappy diagram, but you get the point. Instead of starting with an idea and then seeing if somebody will buy it, we start with the people, and then we build ideas around the problems. Right? So that's an important distinction. So that's kind of how we build our service. So it's good to have an idea of Facebook advertising. Obviously, marketing is the best consulting business you can be in because in general, most businesses need marketing. But when I say you need to do your research on the business, I'm not saying that you don't need to do marketing for them. I'm saying you need to figure out how you can position the marketing for them so that they're willing to buy it. Because for example, if you're working with orthodontists, and I know this because a lot of my students actually did very well with orthodontists because of this. If you're sending them a consistent stream of leads, they don't just want leads. They don't just want a pile of leads. Orthodontists, they don't want a pile of leads. They want people walking in the door at a consistent pace. So how do you build a marketing system that takes people off the street and gets them to come into your door at a consistent pace, generally ready to buy? And when I say consistent, I mean like not like 10 this day and then 2 the next and then 50 one week and then 4 the next week. Like just like 3 or 4 every day, just consistently, just don't every day consistently. And they're collecting that information of those people, following up with them later, giving them more services. The lifetime value of a client is very high for them. So, you got to understand what they actually want. Whereas like people who sell an online course, for example, they really like big launches. They love like setting up, gearing up, having like a multiple 6-figure day, and then turning it back off for the next year, which is, I don't really like that model myself, but a lot of people really do, and that's totally cool. And so you gotta think, just because you're in marketing doesn't mean that you actually know what you're doing for each client. So you should still market backwards and figure out what it is that they actually want. Does that make sense? So when it comes to your service, it doesn't start in our head, brain, and then go to market. Money, right? It's backwards to that. It's this way. It starts with what they're willing to pay for, and then we build an idea around it. Does that make sense? So that's our service. So an example of services that you could do, and I'm just gonna go nuts here, you can do Facebook ads. You can do Google or YouTube ads. YouTube. You can do funnels, like building landing pages, building funnels for clients. You could do coaching. You could just coach clients on all of these things. You could take on clients that you meet with once a week and train them on how to do it, which is actually something that I did, and I still do quite a bit actually. I like doing coaching because it actually relieves you a lot of the pressure of making sure everything's right. You just give them the templates, show them how to do it. It's a great way to go, right? You could do email marketing, right? You could do website building, websites. You could build for them, you could build them text marketing. I've seen actually a lot of people doing very, very well with this. Text marketing, like, SMS. You could do chat bots, if you know what a chat bot is. It's like a Facebook Messenger system. You could do webinar building. You could build them their webinars to sell their stuff. You could do, there's so many things. Like this isn't even my toe dipped in the water here. You could just go on and on and on and on and on. Webinar building. You could consult them. Let's say they're an influencer. You can consult them on their Instagram marketing if they're on Instagram. You could who knows? You could help them with supply chain if they're in e-commerce. Right? There's like so much you can do. And in general, in my eyes, what marketing is, it's that process of taking somebody from a stranger to a buyer, and then the process of delivery once they buy. Like, it's not just the marketing part. Like, marketing is marketing. It's like looking at a market, what do they need and how do we give it to them? So really, any step in the process, from discovering a client, getting them to discover you, to selling them to delivery. These are all areas that you could help a business with, okay? So that's how we define our service, okay? Super simple, super cool. Now let's talk about scale. Let's talk about how hard it would be to get to 6 figures, which is actually not that hard at all. And I'm not just saying that just to like tempt people. Like, it's literally not that hard, okay? And I promise you it's not that hard. So what do you need to get to 6 figures? So let's just do like 8.3K a month. Well, you need, in my eyes, I would say a minimum of 4 to 6 clients. Okay? And now the question immediately comes, how do you manage 4 to 6 clients? It's like, how do you even get 4 to 6 clients? So we need to do a couple things. We need to have a marketing machine that actually works for us so we can get clients, because we're not just doing marketing for other businesses, we're doing marketing for ourselves too. So we have to get clients coming to us. So how do we build an inbound marketing machine? Because a lot of people, what they teach is they teach cold call, right? They teach cold email. They teach cold LinkedIn. they teach cold Facebook, they teach cold Instagram, whatever it is, cold. Reach out to these people. You know, if the reason you're not successful yet is because you haven't done enough cold outreach, and that it's honestly just a bunch of bullcrap, because like it's what it is. It's a cop out. You know, these high-end educators, like, you know, I'm not going to name any names, but these high-end educators, what they're doing is they're saying you're not successful because you haven't sent enough cold messages. It's like a cop out. It's like they don't have to take responsibility because you failed, because, you know, you didn't send enough cold messages. So it's your problem. It's your fault. So what I do is actually accept that responsibility for you. And I teach you how to get an inbound marketing machine that gets potential clients coming to you to buy your stuff instead of you going to them constantly. Okay? Big difference. You don't understand the level of difference, because when somebody comes to you, there's more trust. When somebody comes to you, you can sell them at a higher ticket rate. When somebody comes to you, they are more willing to accommodate whatever suggestions that you have. When somebody comes to you, it's more scalable. Okay? So should you start off with inbound? Should you start off with cold for a while? It's up to you. Honestly, I'm going to give you options here. It's up to you whether you do inbound or outbound. But my favorite way to do inbound, honestly, is Facebook groups. So what we're going to do actually is we're just going to find some groups, find 5 to 10 groups. We're going to bring some value into there. I'm just going to look smiley face for value. And what that means is at least like 3 posts a week. Plus, I would say just being active in the community and bringing some value and helping people out. So like, for example, Johnny Vo, one of my students, got a client that paid him $9,000 a month by just leaving a comment on another post that asked about the niche that he was in. He's like, yeah, here's how I would handle this, you know, just very basic comment. Then this owner of this business in the niche that he was in, it's actually real estate, this real estate agency, he clicks Johnny's profile, messages him, gets a meeting with him, and Johnny closes him for $9,000 a month. So like when you're in the right communities, you're in at least 5 to 10, you're bringing value, you're building your reputation. And I'll just write R because that's probably the most important part here. That looks like a B. I need to work on my handwriting. When you're building your reputation, R. Reputation is a compounding thing. So like when you have a good reputation, it helps you build a good reputation, right? And then that reinforces your reputation, and it just goes and goes and goes and goes. And really what that is it's like eyes turning into eyes. Turning into eyes. People that see you turn into more people that see you, turn into more people that see you. Better reputation turns into a better reputation, turns into a better reputation, which turns into sales, which turn into more sales, which turn into more sales. So when you're doing outbound, you're doing cold, you don't have this compound effect. It doesn't kind of shoot up like that. When you're doing cold, it's like this slow, linear thing. You take a jump, boom. You got a client. Take another jump, boom. Take another jump, boom. And it's just like this linear, slow thing, and you have to do like outreach all the time. It's just like a little bit of growth, a little bit of growth, a little bit of growth, little bit. And it takes you like 10 years to do what somebody who's getting inbound could do in like 6 months if he just went hard with it. Okay, so I play very long term with these people. So do inbound, try Facebook groups, or try any sort of a place where you can place your content. I love LinkedIn as well. I teach Facebook groups, but I know that this applies to really any platform where you can build like a reputation for yourself. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, anywhere. Like YouTube is a good one too. I've seen actually some students do pretty well with YouTube. But I basically just teach how to build content, how to build a reputation that gets people coming to you. When people think it's harder to build a brand, it's actually significantly easier to build a brand than it is to do all this cold outreach bullcrap. Okay, so that is how you attract clients. Now let me get on to the funnel that we use to get clients. So you're gonna wanna build basically just a very simple, I wouldn't even worry about a funnel actually for you guys. I'm not even gonna talk about funnel with you guys. I'm gonna talk about get a software, like a schedule software of any kind. There's a lot that you can use, okay? Schedule once, I don't know, I think I just got cut off. I don't know where I cut off, but basically, you know, we're gonna now talk about the funnel that you guys are gonna use to attract people and get sales calls with them. So we need people to be able to schedule on our calendar somehow. Okay, schedule, exclamation mark. So there's a lot of softwares you can use: Acuity Scheduling, Schedule Once, Calendly. There's a lot of softwares like that. And they like sync with your Google Calendar. So then they can schedule a call and then you can take the call. And how do you take this call? So really what I'm talking about is, you know, the funnel itself and how do you take the call. So there's two things you're gonna need. One, software. Two, a form built into the software. So most of these softwares I mentioned have a form, and you're gonna wanna ask good questions. Some questions you can ask are, you know, what's the current monthly revenue in your business? You know, where would you guys like to get to? You know, what are the marketing issues you guys are having? Or just questions related to their niche, and ask as many as you can. And I can almost guarantee you that the better they fill out their form, the more likely they are to close because they're more committed. So it's almost less about even having actual information on them, and it's more about just knowing which calls aren't going to be worth your time. Because now I've gotten to the point where I take like 3 or 4 a day, and I'll cancel a lot actually, because they just don't look good. So have them fill out a form, have them use a software where they can schedule with you. And then on this call, there's a few rules. Set the tone, STT. And really all you're doing is within the first 2 minutes or so, you're gonna say, hey, here's how this call's gonna go. I'm gonna ask you guys some questions, or ask you some questions, and if you were in a good place, you know, and I think that I can help you, I'm gonna make you an offer, and we're gonna get moving on the call today. If you're not in a good place, it's no big deal. Set the tone. And then you start asking your questions. And I would prepare some questions ahead of time. Where are you guys at currently with your marketing? You know, where are you guys lacking? Let them do like 90% of the talking and take notes. I have a little notebook right here where I take notes, okay, about my prospects. And then if you think they're a good fit, basically just say, here's what I have to offer, and I'll just write S for solution, and not even a $sign S, just an actual S. Here's my solution, here's how it relates to your problem, you know, and are you ready to go? So like, my solution is, you know, I'm gonna run your Facebook ads for your dentist. The reason it relates to your problem is because you were telling me that, you know, you were having inconsistent leads. You told me that the leads that you would get from other people, you know, like you didn't vet them. So I'm actually going to build in a software that's gonna allow us to vet these leads. You were telling us that they didn't really spend that much money. So I'm actually gonna target people who have a higher household income, right? And you're also telling me that they would come sometimes and they'd buy one thing and they'd never show up again. So what I'm gonna do is actually, I'm gonna give them the ability to come back by giving you guys remarketing like tools. So I'm gonna collect their emails, and we're actually gonna send them weekly emails so that you just stay top of mind. That whenever they think of a dentist, they're gonna think of you. You know, so like, you have your solution, the problems that they stated on your call while you were asking good questions, you relate your solution to, and you're gonna have like a 40-50% close rate on these if you're doing it right. So then, you can see how easy it would be to grow to 6 figures. So that was a lot. I mean, I skimmed over a lot. Honestly, like I made this super, super simple, dumbed it down a lot, but that's honestly all you need. So that's how to grow your marketing agency or your consulting or coaching business to that 6-figure level. $8,500 a month, or you know, with taxes about $10,000 to $12,000 a month. But still, literally the exact same thing. You know, 4 to 6 clients. You know, if you get 4 to 6 clients all paying you $2,000 to $3,000 a month, you know, that's pretty solid. And then the only thing that I really glazed over was service delivery, which honestly, I'll sum it up very simply. Get a good contractor, train them, you know, get them on Slack or on some form of communication. I'm just gonna answer some questions that I know I'm gonna get in the comments. Contractor, you can find them on Upwork, onlinejobs.ph, you can find them in Facebook groups. Just find somebody that you could pay. How much do you pay them? I typically would pay like 20-30% of the retainer to them. Okay, or get them on a monthly recurring fee, and it doesn't matter how much you're making, you just pay them that amount every month for the client work that they do. There's a couple options. Besides that, do you need contracts? You can write one up if you want. I use contracts sometimes, only if a client really asks for one, okay? I include a contract that I use actually in 6-Figure Marketing Consultant, so you could use that if you ever wanted to, if you ever hop into that course. Let's see, what are some other questions I feel like I'm gonna get? How do you get a client without results? You actually get a contractor, you can leverage their results, or you do some free work and collect a testimonial, or cheap work and collect a testimonial. And you just wanna really over-deliver for those first 3 to 5 clients that you get. You just really wanna make their experience incredible. and then it makes the next clients super easy to get. So yeah, that's kind of it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully it helped you think some stuff through. And if you have any questions, once again, feel free to message me on Instagram. And if you want to get that one-to-one call with myself for the six-figure marketing consultant program, be sure to schedule the call and we'll get started. So thanks again for watching. Hope you enjoyed. See you in the next one.